Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona. Menopause care made easy. Summer is the season of hot temperatures, outdoor adventures, and refreshing water activities. Summer is also the season of rough on your feet, causing dry, cracked heels and toes. Introducing Babyfoot, the original exfoliation foot peel that contains 16 natural extracts formulated to remove dead skin cells in 3 easy steps. Apply the booties, relax for an hour, then wash your feet. In 14 days, you've got baby smooth skin and your feet have never been softer. Letting dead skin cells build up over time is hazardous to your foot health. Our professional-grade DIY products, like our original exfoliation foot peel, our men's foot peel, or our moisturizing mask, are some of the best foot care products on the market, created with your foot health in mind. Pamper yourself with a spa day from the comfort and convenience of your own home with Babyfoot. If you want a chemical-free, easy-to-use exfoliating process from the company that created the original foot peel, it's time to treat yourself to Babyfoot. Go to babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24 and get 20% off your first order with Babyfoot. That's babyfoot.com and use the code SUMMERFEET24.
Hello and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast that reviews romance novels $5 and under. And I hope you guys have your air conditioners on, because today's episode is another one in the series, Hot as Hell with TSTL, where I chat with authors. And today, I am chatting with YA author and fellow Emerson College alum Margot Wood. She has a new book out called Fresh, which is a modern and sex-positive retelling of the Jane Austen classic Emma that takes place at Emerson. So we obviously had a lot to discuss, and I have to say, I think this is the most I have ever talked about my Emerson experience in like a very long time. So when I was a freshman at Emerson, my parents helped me move in, and like the last thing my mom said to me was, "Do you remember where we parked the car?" Just kidding. No, she said to me, she was like, "Becky, you will thrive." And after I graduated, every now and then I think like, well, okay, did I thrive? Because like, I made a lot of mistakes at Emerson. I fucked up a lot. Like I had very, very low self-esteem, which now, years later, I'm realizing like that was a waste of time. But after this conversation with Margot, I had this thought that was like, you know what? Maybe I did thrive in like a weird, hard, fucked up kind of way. Like maybe I didn't go to the White House and, show the president this crazy invention I made. But like I did one time like get a moth out of my dorm room that flew in that was huge. Like I did it by myself, and like that's thriving. And I thrived in a lot of other ways. And even the little things, that is thriving, it's important to me, especially as the host of a podcast called Too Stupid to Live. Like, wow, the title in itself is thriving. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about myself. Okay, so listen. Emerson attracts a lot of rebels who question the norm. It's a very progressive school. And another place, as I'm sure you know, where you see people with a rebellious spirit who is questioning the standards of society is in romance novels. So I want to tell you about a new historical romance from Kensington Publishing called Outrageous by Minerva Spencer. It is the second in the Rebels of the Tun series, and it turns the tropes of forced proximity and enemies to lovers upside down. The female protagonist of this book seems awesome, as she does something, and I don't want to spoil it, but she does something that you would never expect a Regency romance heroine to do. Obviously, there are a few exceptions, but if you are growing impatient for the newest season of Bridgerton and you enjoy reading about forward-thinking and modern-feeling women in historical romance, definitely pick up Outrageous. You can find more information about this book on tstlpodcast.com. So everyone, without further ado, I'm sweating already. It is time to get hot as hell with TSTL. So please enjoy this chat with Margot Wood. Well, Margot, welcome to Too Stupid to Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so excited you're here. Honestly, I feel like I already know you from reading Fresh. And
you probably do.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there's a chance I might have met before, like, because it talks about going to Emerson College. We both went to Emerson College. I can edit this out, but can I ask you, when did you graduate?
I'm an 08 girl.
I'm
what
07.
About you? You're 07, so we were there at the same time.
We were totally there at the same time. And so were you on the third floor of the little building in?
Yeah, freshman year.
I was in fourth floor, so I lived.
Are you on the fourth floor? So you were on the fourth floor your sophomore year, right?
Yeah, freshman and sophomore year.
Okay. Oh wait, I was on the fourth floor sophomore year. Oh no, wait, you would have been junior.
But
then.
I was a junior. Yeah.
So then you were on the floor with like Dylan Clemenco, Joshua Houghton, Adam Harding, all those baby freshman boys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so wild. And I was just like, I know we've crossed paths. Honestly, and I know it could be based on a different person or just like from your, imagination, but the way you described the RA in the book, that was my RA to a T.
Who was your RA?
I don't remember her name.
Okay, so funny story. We had two RAs.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who one of them was. I actually forgot who both of them were for a long time until I met up last year before the panty. I met up with my actual freshman year roommate. And I was like, had just finished selling in Fresh and I was getting ready to edit it. And I was like, who was our RA? Cause like, I couldn't remember, and my old freshman year roommate, she was like, seriously, it was Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was like, why does that name sound familiar? And she was like, she wrote Daisy Jones and the Six. And I was like, what?
Here's the thing.
Came flooding back.
Taylor was my RA in my freshman year.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely forgot that Taylor was my RA. And then I, of course, the second she said it, I all came in and I was like, oh man, she did not like me. I mean, it's not that she didn't like me. It's just that I was kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh my God. I was too. Yeah. I mean, like we were friends. I don't know why I'm like talking about my personal college life, but we were friends freshman year and then like sophomore year, I was on a different floor. So we kind of like drifted apart. But yeah, that's so
amazing.
Wild.
I know Emerson. That's what I love about Emerson is that it is just the smallest world. Like if anybody's like, oh, I had a friend that was at Emerson between the years that I was there, I was like, chances are we either met or had classes or we have the same friend group.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that like we had, like, I really believe that maybe we were at the same parties. We had long conversations.
Oh, I'm sure we did. I bet if I went back in my old Mac G4, I've got some photos. What major were you? I
was media studies and theater studies. So I doubled.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's
yeah.
Amazing.
Well, come on.
I was always curious what media studies, like I had a few friends that were media studies and I'd always be like, what does that mean? And they were just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, all we did was take all of the classes except for production classes. So I basically took writing classes and then just classes where we watched movies and I would fall asleep.
God, when I started writing Fresh, actually, it was during the editing process. I had to go back and fact check a bunch of stuff because I started writing it before, they redid the little building and which is super swanky now, according to all of the videos that I've watched. And I've talked to some current freshmen there and they were like, it's so nice. And I'm like, oh, you don't even understand what it was like for us. But Emerson has so many new majors now that I'm so jealous of. Like they have a comedy major. They have business of creative enterprises major that I totally would have done. Yeah, we had some slim pickings back then.
I'm so jealous. Well, I mean, I attempt to do comedy. I'm so jealous of the comedy majors. Like, I would have
Same.
jumped at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I took one comedy class at Emerson. It was like more of a history of comedy, and it was like one of my favorite classes. And I'm just so jealous that they have an actual BFA of comedic arts now.
Can you imagine? I mean, oh, God, it's so ridiculous, but it's also so awesome at the same time, you know? Because like,
Yeah.
you know how like a lot of like aside from Emersonians, like the funniest people are like, yeah, I majored in philosophy at Harvard, you know? And it's like, yeah, of course you're a comedian or whatever. But then it's like, oh, I got an MFA or a BFA in like comedic arts, and it's like that's awesome. But at the same time, I'm like, I didn't go to Harvard.
Yeah. Oh man, I love talking to people who just went to like normal American colleges, because I'm just like, I can't, when I started writing Fresh, I originally was going to set it at just like a big generic fake like Ohio State type of university, and I couldn't do it because I was like, I genuinely have no frame of reference of what it's like to go to a normal state school, because like I went to a small high school and then I went to a small college, and Emerson is so bizarre. So I was like, actually, it would make for a much more interesting setting if I put it this at Emerson.
I definitely got that vibe, because like, I think overall reading your book, the voice and the location felt very original and relatable to me, going to Emerson and being a weirdo. But I also think that it's relatable to like that age and, older, of people who went to all sorts of colleges, because you are there to like find yourself, figure something out. And you also like talk, like the way our narrator talks. She talked like a college student. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was worried that by setting it at Emerson, I would be making it too narrowly focused. Like, I was worried that people wouldn't be able to relate to Elliot's experiences. So I tried to make them as like, Emerson's really just the backdrop to it, and provides a lot of like the more quirky details to the story, but it doesn't really, her being at Emerson, other than the fact that she's like the only one of her friend groups or anybody really at Emerson who doesn't have a specific major and like a life plan put together immediately upon arriving at Emerson. Other than that, the like Emerson experience isn't really all that different, so I was worried that people weren't going to be able to relate to her story. So I did try to like, make it as generic as or as like wide as possible. So I'm glad that I hope Emerson people read it and are like, like this is accurate, but I want other people who didn't go to Emerson be able to read it and be like, oh, okay, I can see myself in this.
Oh, 100%. So you mentioned earlier that like Emerson has gone through a lot of changes since we have been there. So I want to talk about that. Like, it's not only like the literal little building, which blew my mind, because I'm like, there's stairwell from the third floor to in the fourth floor. Like,
yeah, they're connected now. It's so crazy.
That's so unfair.
Yeah, they share a common room. So every 2 floors has their own common room now, which I do think changes up the dynamic of like, the Emerson experience, because when we were at the little building, there were so many odd things about that building that forced weirdness on you, like the stairwell, how everybody remembers that spiral staircase, because that building was built in like the 1800s and it was not built for college students. So if a fire alarm went off, which happened frequently, everybody would have to run into the stairwell. But because it was so narrow, it would take hours for everybody to get all the way down. So if there was an actual fire, we would all be dead. Like, it was just so unsafe. So when I heard that like the stairwell was all cleaned up and like wide, I was like, oh man, there's no danger anymore.
Yeah, because I would like get, especially if you were like walking up drunk, and high, which was me. Like, it was like it's a hard stairwell.
I would often like, there's a scene in Fresh where she's coming back from like a walk of shame type of situation, and she has to like sit down in between floors because she's taking this stairwell down. So I left the stairwell the same in the book. It's not reflective of the current stairwell. It is more reflective of our stairwell when we were there. But I remember trying to like walk up and down those stairs when I was drunk and then just being like, I'm just going to rest here for a minute. It's taking me so long. It was also really unique about the third floor. Living in the LB was really fun because my room was facing the brick wall.
Same. Yeah. My first freshman year. Yeah.
So when you're in the LB, your room is either facing the beautiful Boston Common with this wonderful bay window, or you're on the other side and you're literally 6 feet from a brick freaking wall and you get no daylight. But on the third floor, if you open up the windows, there was a fire escape that you could get out on. And it was kind of like a little deck. And we would all go out there and smoke weed.
Oh my God, that's so, like, honestly, like, again, so unfair. Like, my window only opens so far because I feel like they were like, oh, this is dark. We don't want kids jumping out the window or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And so my window only opens so far. And so I was like leaning out to like,
to smoke your cigarettes, your Lucky Strikes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was another great thing. I was like, yep, there's still people smoking their Lucky Strikes. I'm really happy that you added that in there, especially for a YA novel where I feel like, and in romance where I feel like smoke, like if I see any character smoking, I'm like, ooh, edgy.
They're so cool. Yeah.
They're edgy. And it was very exciting because like everyone, like I tried smoking at Emerson and that was like, that was a huge mistake. And so like, not that I smoked.
But I wanted to be one of those cool people because another classic Emerson only experience of living in the little building was you walk through a thick cloud of cigarette smoke just to get into and out of your dorm. At any point during the day, there would be at least 10 kids outside chain smoking. And I did talk to a current Emerson student. I was like, please tell me people still smoke. Like, and she was like, yeah, but it's a lot of vaping now. And I was like, sure. All right. I can get on board with that. But it's nice to hear that people are still like, that's just part of the Emerson culture. I always tried to get into, I wanted to be one of those kids that would smoke a cigarette out front, but I could never do it. Oh
my God. I failed. Like there was one time I was a spaz in college. I'll fully admit that. And so like, I was like, one time was like, I'm going to be a cigar smoking Emersonian.
Ooh.
I'm not just doing cigarettes. I'm going to do cigars. And I did it once and I got so sick.
I can totally see that. There was this one girl, I think she was a grade below me, and she would always wear like one of those 1930s hats on the side of her head. And she had the mesh lace in front of her face. And she had the cigarette in the long cigarette holder, like down Cruella de Vil style cigarette holder. And I was like, that is so Emerson. It's so cool.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where I had my sophomore year, I had roommates who smoked and we would always go down and, you know, especially when like all of the people at the clubs were like coming out and we would go down and like make fun of them. And so I was like, I can't do these cigarettes. So I just brought down a bowl of cereal and I was like, I'm going to be the cereal girl now.
Yes. Well, that's because Emerson had that amazing cereal bar. Never in my life have I ever had 24/7 access to Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you know, like, oh God, I miss it. And those days when they brought out the waffle irons and we would have the waffle station and somebody would always mess it up and it would burn the waffles and it would ruin the whole thing. And
yeah, I did it only a few times because like in the book, the line is always so long. And
it's so long.
Or, you know, someone would break it and then I'd be like, oh, fuck it. I'll just like eat cereal. And it's
I pretty much subsisted off of cereal and whatever I could get at the C-store.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God. So I live in LA and there's like an Emerson thing out here. And I found my Emerson ID and there's a C-store there. Oh, this is like so esoteric. Or like,
can
there's
you
like a
go
cafe.
in?
I don't know, but I feel like I might still have Emerson bucks on there. And I want to see if I can like get one of those cookies.
I will say I was in Boston a couple of years ago, back when I was living in New York. I would go up to Boston every once in a while and I had to go to the bathroom and we were just like out in downtown Crossing and we couldn't find a place to pee. And I still had my Emerson ID and I just walked into the building and flashed my ID and was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And they were totally fine with it.
I know. It's so great because they don't have your like classier on it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. Although the IDs look very different now than they do back then. But, yeah, you should try using that. See if you've got some of that EC cash still on there.
I might. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I did the LA program the second semester, so the last semester in college.
Mm-hmm.
Senior year, I did the LA program, and I never even went to graduation because I was like out in LA, and I was like, I'm not going back to Boston for this. But I remember being at the LA program, and it was so shitty. It was so shitty because there was like no building. Like we were living in the Oak Woods.
Yeah,
in
I did it
Burbank,
too.
And
it was awful.
It was horrible. And that's probably like, if I had to say if there was anything I regret doing at Emerson, it was doing that program. Although now I hear that new building is like beautiful and lovely, and they actually have like good classes and stuff. But when we were there, that program was a disaster.
Yeah, like all of your classes were in this like random building in Burbank, and on the top, it was only on the top floor, and they're like, we have a library here, and you go in the library, it's just a room with Scientology books. That's all it is.
So bad. It was so bad. And so I did it the winter of 2000, and I guess it was January 2008. And so, when you go out and do the LA program, everybody has to have an internship lined up. That's like part of the program. And my internship was in marketing. I was a marketing major, was in the marketing department for the TV show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then when I got there, the writer's strike happened. That 2007, 2008 writer's strike happened, and it shut down production on every single TV show. And I was completely out. I had no internship. And so I ended up just scrambling to take whatever Emerson could hook me up with, which was an internship at Ford Models.
No.
It was
my God.
Horrible. All I did was answer phones and then do Photoshop retouching on like some of their models. Like that was it. They sent me on one recruiting mission where they were like, go to this new club and find us hot boys to sign to Ford Models. And I was like, okay, all right, sweet. I did that. So I did that one night, and that was like my quintessential LA experience where I realized that I did not want to live in LA.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like that sucks. Like I mean, my internship was at National Lampoon, which shut down literally after I interned there. I might have been the nail in the coffin. Who knows?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like, and then I remember getting an internship. I got an offer from Friday Night Lights. And so like later on, National Lampoon shut down. It was like the most ridiculous internship. I literally was just sitting with a bunch of sad men. Yeah. And then like Friday Night Lights took off, and I'm always like, fuck, I should have taken that Friday Night Lights.
Isn't that just like, I always think about where I would be if the writer's strike hadn't happened and I was on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I actually think there's a strong chance that I'd still be in LA, that I would have never like gone back. After graduation, I moved back home for a year, and I was just absolutely miserable. And then I moved to New York on a whim with no job and all that stuff during the Great Recession. That was a real choice. But like everything, I feel like all of those moments in my life where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. They always end up leading to something that you never expected. And I think that's always really fun for me.
Oh my God, 100%. Yeah. And this kind of goes back to Fresh. I think like aside from like, the physical innovations of Emerson, I do feel like there was like sex positivity was a thing when we were there.
Big time.
But it was also just the beginning of it. And in this book, it had like this entirely different shape to it, which was like mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. So remember when we were there, everybody would say gay by May or your money back.
Yeah.
I'm happy to report that Emerson students still say that now.
Awesome.
Which is really amazing to hear. And that part I just had to kind of go with a bit of a creative license, because obviously I am not a college student in today's day and age when we have the vocabulary and the discussions and the knowledge that, we didn't have any of that when we were there, but it was at the beginning. You were right. Like it was at the very beginning. Emerson has always been a progressive school. And it was definitely progressive then. So I have to assume that it's still extremely progressive now. In even more ways, and I know that Emerson has like non-binary bathrooms. They've had those for a while. I know that that you can have roommates of the same gender now, or like of opposing genders. Like I knew enough to put together a picture of what I could assume what Emerson daily life would be like today. And I assume that it's a place where a lot of those gender and sexuality discussions are happening, or they're not. And it's just like nobody talks about coming, like they've already come out, maybe they came out in high school and it's just not like really a thing, and it's just so much more, not that it was never accepting before, because it was always an accepting place, but it's just even more normalized there. One of the first reviews that I got of Fresh, because I love to read my reviews because I'm love pain. They were like, this book isn't real because it's depicting a utopic society. And I was like, actually, that's just Emerson. Yeah. Like, it's not fake. That's just what Emerson is like. I remember the first week that I was a freshman when we did the boat cruise, orientation week, they all put you on a boat so you can't escape. And the first person that ever hit on me at Emerson was actually, I think she was an RA on the fourth floor, Margot Spira.
That's my RA who reminded me of Rose.
Yes. Margot was the first person who ever asked me out. And it was and I remember just being like, she was just so blunt about it and just like upfront, she gave me this amazing line. She was wearing a belt that said Margot and it weighed the same spelling of her name. And she said, if we go out, we can share this belt. And I was like, that is a line. Yep. And I want to say yes, but I'm a baby freshman. So no.
Good for her. I mean, that is so funny because when I was like reading Rose, I was like, this reminds me of her. She dressed like her. Oh my God. It's getting full circle, man. That's very exciting for me.
Yeah. Man, Margot, what an amazing lady.
Yeah, she was awesome. I mean, I wasn't really like that close with her, but like whenever I saw her, I was like, you're awesome.
She's just cool. She was just so cool. And just like, that's what I love about Emerson kids is that they really do know themselves. Even if they end up changing who they are throughout the years that they're there, they're just so confident in whoever they currently are, like whatever version they are choosing to be at that particular moment. Like there's just no fear there. And I really love Emerson for that, because you could just be like whoever you wanted to be, except if you were just like a weird, one of those weird like boat shoe wearing bros that should have gone to like at one of those state schools, when there was always a handful of them at Emerson. And it'd always be so weird because you're like, what are you doing here, straighty? Like, get out.
Yes. And they're playing sports, which no one ever did.
Yeah. I had some roommates that played soccer that were on the soccer team. And it was always bizarre because they were like the most un-Emerson like people at Emerson.
Yeah. When I moved out my junior year, I found it, I was like scrambling to find a place, and I moved in with someone who was on the volleyball team.
We had a volleyball team.
Yeah, I learned that we did. And we
did not know.
Yeah. Oh my God. And she was like one of those people who I was like, you're going to Emerson? But we ended up becoming like best friends. You know what I mean? And I never thought I would ever, like, I'd be like, oh, she's going to think I'm like out of shape and weird or whatever. And I'm going to be like, we don't relate to anything. But because we were so different, it ended up being one of the best roommate experiences I've ever had.
That's amazing.
I learned there was a volleyball team.
That's amazing. I actually did. My husband also went to Emerson. We did not date when we were there. Thank God. It would have ended terribly. 'Cause I was a big old hoe back then. But we met playing pickup soccer on the Boston Common. Because we both played soccer, like varsity soccer in high school, but we just were so burnt out on it. And so when we got to Emerson, it was sort of like we could finally like be ourselves, which weren't identified by those sports. And so that's how we met, was playing soccer, pickup soccer on the Boston Common. So even though I went to Emerson, I still ended up marrying a soccer player.
I love it. Love it. So, okay. Fresh is your first book, right?
It
Is that
is.
correct? So tell me about like how you came up with the idea for it. What made you just like you've been managing Epic Reads, so you have been in the YA world. Yes.
Yeah. So I started Epic Reads in 2012. I
Mhm.
left in 2017. I left New York and I moved out to Portland, Oregon. And so I still work in publishing. I work in comics and graphic novels now at an
Cool.
independent comics publisher. We did like Scott Pilgrim, those
Oh,
comics.
nice.
Yeah. So it's fun. But yeah, so I've been in the YA community for about a decade now.
Mhm.
Because I was still in YA before I even started Epic Reads. And it's been a really, really long time. So I always like when the moment came where I was like, maybe I'm going to try writing. It was always going to be YA. Like there was
Mhm.
no way that it wasn't going to be because I
Mhm.
just immersed myself so much in it for so long that it was there. I knew
Mhm.
it was going to be something YA. But I also, because of that experience of being so well read in that particular genre, or age category, I should say, I was also kind of aware of its limitations and what wasn't done, where are the like what the gaps are. And one of those gaps is college set stories. There's this thing in YA where it's like the second you finish high school or the second you turn 18, it's like, boom, adult. And I don't know about you, but like, I don't really think I felt like an adult, quote unquote, until I was like in my late 20s.
I still don't feel like an adult. So,
I
yeah.
I don't either. I mean, I do now that I have a mortgage, but like but like back then, I didn't feel like your early 20s, especially when you're in college, like you're still 18. Like
Right.
what about the summer between your senior year of high school and college makes you an adult? Nothing.
Mhm.
You're literally still the exact same age that you were when you were in high school. So I don't understand why all like YA publishing is just so afraid of college set stories. Like there are a few, some of them have broken out, like Fangirl by Rainbow Roll is a good example of one of those. And there's like a handful of other ones, but for the most part, there has never been a college book trend. And I think for a while, people tried to call these books new adult. This is a term that you might hear every once in a while. That was essentially that came out in like the 2013, 2014 era of post Twilight, but also post 50 Shades of Grey, of people wanting something like 50 Shades of Grey, but maybe just like a little bit younger, more YA-y. So New Adult was born. But then it kind of got this terrible reputation of just being bad erotica. Even though it was supposed to be about people set from the ages of like 18 to 24. And so because of that connotation that New Adult had, it never took off and never became a recognized publishing category. Like there is no BISAC category for New Adult. BISAC is like the code that all books are given. And when you look on Amazon and it's like number 1 in LGBTQ teen fiction, it's getting that information from this thing called a BISAC code. So BISAC codes are official. They go through a committee. They are voted upon. They are approved. So there is no New Adult category. So I knew going into Fresh that I really wanted, what's really interesting to me isn't coming of age stories that deal with firsts. I love those, but there's a lot of them. That's pretty much what YA is.
Mhm.
It's those firsts, experiencing your coming of age. What happens after that? Like what happens after you've lost your virginity? What happens after you've come out? What happens after you gain a little confidence and you kind of feel like your way around the world? Like what then? Because that's where YA ends. And this is where I wanted to pick up on, was to be like, okay, let's take a character who has a ton of confidence, like unearned confidence, just thinks she's such hot shit, who's had sex, who's come out, who isn't dealing with those things. What are the kinds of things that she would be dealing with? And that's what I ultimately wanted to explore
Mhm.
in this story. And then in terms of like the overall story, a lot of it honestly started out with just my own experiences at Emerson. So when I was a freshman, after freshman year, I had this terrible internship over the summer. And I remember one day I was just so bored and I wrote down a letter to my little sister who was still in high school at the time. And I was like, look, here's a list of every single mistake that I made. So you don't make the same mistakes. And I found that letter again many years later, and I just started writing scenes with this character of Elliot in my head. She just immediately popped into my head, and I was like, let's just start writing a scene based on each of one of these things. They're not connected. I wasn't even thinking of it as being short stories. I was just like, let's just start there. And that sort of is like how it kind of crystallized. And then but the problem is that I'm not formalized. Like, I have no training in writing. I did not take any writing classes at Emerson except for the required ones freshman year. In high school, English was honestly my worst subject. I was not a good reader. I'm ADHD and dyslexic, so English was not my thing. And so I never even expected myself to be able to write. So when I did set out to write fresh and I had all these random scenes, but no connective tissue, that's when I started rereading some of my old favorite novels, because like the best way to get inspiration for your own writing is to read other people's books. And I started reading Emma by Jane Austen again. And within like 10 pages, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe that I didn't see this before. But Elliot and Emma were so similar, and like the cast of characters around her, some of the themes that she was exploring, the same sort of like just like all of their mannerisms were so similar. And I was sitting in my kitchen and I had a yellow legal pad, and I just furiously was handwriting down this new plot. And I like couldn't write fast enough, so I can barely read what it says now. But it was like a perfect moment. And I, within 3 months, had the first draft done. And 3 months after that, it was sold. It was so fast after I realized that. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to use Emma as the framework and take all these things that I'd already written and build it into this. And it coalesced so seamlessly. It was pretty, I've never had like a writing experience quite like that, where it was just like, oh, like the clouds parted, and it was amazing. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And, one thing I noticed, or one thing that was like really, really stood out to me, was just going back to new adult. This is, I read romance, primarily so for college romances, I'm not talking about young adult or new adult. For college romances, they're essentially this is just a generalization, but they're written for an adult audience. So meaning I'm in a book club with a bunch of women in their mid-30s and we read college romance.
Yep.
And as they're sexy, they're hot, the stories are great. But when it comes to the sex scenes, I feel like the sex scenes are written more for, even just the terminology. They're written more for, people my age. So you'll see like, it's like this college senior caressed her nipple and she felt ripples through her body. And I didn't talk like that when I was in college. You know what I mean? And it's so funny. And it's like also jaw dropping, because it was like, one, I never had sex like that in college. I never had really have that much sex.
I don't know anybody that had good sex in college.
I know. And it's like, there's this great book that's like making the rounds right now called The Deal, which I loved. But it's written by, this writer who is one of my favorite writers. But like the way she described this sex was just like, I barely have achieved that kind of sex, and like I'm in my mid-30s. It's just like this senior or maybe even a junior knew exactly what he was doing.
See, that happens in YA too. In YA, especially in those like, a lot of the fantasy novels, there was like the build up in the moment, and usually it ends up fading to black. But like these teenage dudes know how to work a woman, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. But what?
Yes.
Like, in what world does anybody know what they're doing at that age? Like, you must, I mean, maybe it's possible. Like, I think Elliot probably knows a trick or two, but you can't have good sex in college, first of all, because you're on a twin XL. Second of all, it's on risers, and so the whole bed is shaking. Third, you have to go as fast as possible because the roommates are going to be coming back. You can't be loud because the neighbors are going to hear. And it's just like, there's like pizza boxes on the floor underneath, and maybe there's mice and living in your drawers, and like, it's not sexy. It's like college.
And the TV's on, you know?
Yeah, you have like some shitty playlist with like Sugar Ross playing. You know, that's what everybody was listening to. Whenever you heard that band playing at Emerson, it was like, oh, somebody's getting laid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I lost my virginity freshman year to a guy who was a sophomore who was in a suite, and the Red Sox were playing the Yankees. That was the year that, like, you know, they finally beat the curse or whatever. All of his roommates were in like the little suite common room, and we were in his like tiny little room, me losing my virginity with like 10 dudes right outside.
Yeah.
And he goes out and he asks anybody if anybody has a condom, and everybody freaks out because they all know I'm a virgin. And I'm like, that was my experience. It was not hot. It was not sexy. It was not romantic. Like, you know, and I kind of knew that going in, and I just wanted it to be over with. So for me, it was fine. But like, that was the majority of like the sex at Emerson. Like in college, I feel like it's just not hot. It's a lot of like misfiring, a lot of just trying things out and figuring things out. And it's awkward and funny and weird. And maybe some of it's good. If, you know, that'd be awesome if it was good, but for the most part, it's not.
Yeah. That is so, I can't believe you, okay, I'm sorry, but I can't believe you lost your virginity that night, because that night was a wild fucking, like, I didn't watch sports, but when everyone was like going out and cheering, that was a wild night.
It was a crazy night. It was a crazy night because right after that, you know, the Red Sox won. Literally everybody in Boston went. I guess this is a thing Boston people do. When they're happy, they riot.
Yeah.
When their sports teams win, they burn parts of the city.
Right.
So I remember lost my virginity. The team wins, everybody cheers, everybody runs outside. And I thought to myself, you know, this is a really good time to do laundry. And so I stayed back and did laundry. Everybody was gone. And I was like, didn't get it. I did not understand what the deal was with the Red Sox.
Oh my God.
I still don't get
it. Yeah. I mean, now after they beat the Yankees, it's kind of like, well, you already did it. You
didn't even beat the World. This wasn't even them winning the World Series. This is them just beating the Yankees. And I was like, I don't get it.
Totally. So I have to ask, Elliot in the book has like this thing for laundry. Is that reminiscent of you as well?
Actually, no. That is a pure, like, you know, written up thing for Elliot. It did stem, though, in my college diary. I had one entry in where when I was a freshman, I left my supplies in the room. I had written my name, I had written my room number on them. And when I went to go change my laundry over, like, they were completely gone. And I was like so angry, you know? And this sophomore told me just straight up there, like, if you leave your shit out, somebody's going to steal it. And that was sort of like, I was like, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. I was like such a little baby freshman at that point. But no, I wasn't really into doing laundry all that much. But it was the one thing that I went to college knowing how to do. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to like take care of myself. Like I'd grown up playing soccer. So like I'd always had coaches yelling at me to exercise. I'd never done it on my own before. So there was a lot of things I needed to learn about how to be independent, but doing my laundry was the only skill set I arrived at Emerson with. But no, I just like, because like laundry is one of those things that like, you don't really think about it when you think of college as being a big part of your college life. And looking back on it, I don't think of it as being a big part of my college life, but I do remember you do your laundry a lot or you don't, and you do it like once a semester and it's like a thing. But I don't know. I wanted that to be Elliot's thing. Plus I thought it would be a really fun place for some sexiness to go down.
Oh yeah. I mean, I walked in on a few people when I would do my laundry.
Yep. I remember I heard about all the hookups in the laundry room and I was like, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that. 'Cause like, I feel like I did my laundry so much more in college than I do now. And I like literally had that realization when, I mean, this is also probably a pandemic thing where I'm just like in my house all the time, but like, I was like, oh fuck, I haven't washed my sheets in a while. And then I was like, I was doing it like literally once a week at Emerson. And now I'm older and I can't remember to do that.
I also think it was more convenient because your laundry was paid for with like your EC card cash or whatever. And also it was on your floor. We had it on every floor. So it was like right there and it was really easy to do. I have heard that the new LB, there is like one laundry room per every 2 floors. So and they're also like bigger. Which again, there was a handful of things that I just chose to ignore about the new LB just for the sake of making my book work. Because I was like, if we change the laundry room, this changes the dynamic of the whole scene. So I'm just going to keep it the same.
Yeah. When I finished reading it, I was just like, is there going to be a sequel to this book? Has that crossed your mind?
So I only sold in one book, and I did that on purpose because I have worked in my professional career on a lot of authors' books who maybe sold in originally a multi-book deal. So they'll sell their first book and maybe it's standalone, but they were signed on for 3 more. And what sometimes happens is maybe that first book didn't sell very well, but now that publisher is still locked in with this author, or conversely, that author is still locked in with that publisher for 2 more novels. But because their first novel didn't do well, the publisher is not as hot on them. They don't know if this author's next work can really come back and sell copies. And so what'll happen is, and I saw time and time again, is that would happen more often than not. And then the second and third books that author would put out with that publisher, they would get absolutely no attention, just absolutely no marketing at all. No one cared about them. And it was really devastating to watch because I'm just like, man, that sucks. Like I feel bad for these authors because they're locked in with this publisher who isn't going to do any kind of marketing or promotion for them. And that's unfortunate because they could have just taken those to another house. So I specifically, when I went into this with my agent, I was like, look, let's just do a 1-book deal. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to write a second book. Like, this was a fluke. I was in a Monster Energy drink haze when I wrote this. Like, who knows? But since then I have thought about it because I was like, look, if Fresh sells well, like, why not do a sequel? And it would be some kind of other standalone, some kind of other retelling, different story, different something. And I was thinking about setting it at the castle and having Elliot do like a screw about instead of a walkabout, like a fuck about around Europe.
Nice. Amazing.
Because I think I'd probably even give her a whole new cast of like roommates, like all the other side characters would have to go away, pretend they don't exist because I don't know, but I just think it would be funny to see Elliot in Europe. Or the other idea that I had was skip 4 years, get her to the first year after college graduation, and it's now kind of the same similar setup in that like it's firsts and new things and like having to figure out how to be on her own, but not in a college setting, but now maybe she's in New York City and now she's having to deal with, now you're out of college, now what the hell?
Yeah, because that is a thing of just like, you are so lost and you're just like, what am I doing? You're still kind of, I mean, for me, I was still kind of overly confident, still very much like, and I mean this in a nice way, a brat. And like, but you're also so lost at the same time and you don't want to admit it. Which I think kind of was my Emerson experience to an extent. But you know, it was so funny when I finished reading it. I was like, I could see a book like takes place like 10 years from now and she and Rose are reuniting, because it's just this romance brain in my head of just like happily ever after, you know, like that's what, you know, my brain goes to.
I don't think Rose and Elliot, I think they would have a very tumultuous relationship, to be honest. I think it would be very, not toxic, but just, you have 2 extremely strong personalities and they both are stubborn in very different ways. And I do think that at that age in college, they would have very tumultuous relationship, but I could 100% see them breaking up in college. Rose graduates a year early. She goes out to LA and starts, you know, doing costuming on some major Netflix show. And Elliot goes to New York and does her own, who knows what the hell Elliot does. She bounces around. And then they, maybe in their late 20s, they somehow meet, you know, at some event. Maybe Elliot's working in on the production side of some film or on the business side of it. And then they meet at a party and it's a thing, and all this time has passed and they've changed a little bit, but not, there's still that fire, that's still that conflict between them, that sort of eternal battle to be right. And yeah, oh man, that'd be hot.
Right? Yeah.
That would be really hot.
I'm just going to go ahead and believe it. Like, that's what I thought. I was like, even if they break up, they're going to get back together. I just was like, I like put down the book and I was like, yeah, even if they break up, they're going to get back together. Like, that's what I thought. Because like, they do seem so made for each other.
They are. And I think, I really do think that they are, because they're both the type of people that can't be with somebody who is just agreeable.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, they just can't be in a relationship that is, just even keel all the time. Like, they need somebody to push them both. Like, they both need to be pushed and challenged, and they constantly want to have that like squabble, little back and forth that creates the heat, because that's just who they are. And it manifests in very different ways. But yeah, that would be fun to write, mostly because then I could it would be an adult novel.
Right. Yeah.
And then I could really write some erotica.
Yeah. But I would still want to do it in Elliot's voice. Because what was so funny is that like in adult erotica, it's like, my pussy, her folds. And she was just
God,
my lady cave, my nerps. You know what I mean? And that
Elliot
was like also so great.
She will never call it her folds. It's always going to be like a Pokemon Squirtle or Jigglypuffs. And it's always going to be a reference to something else. She could never, ever say what it actually is.
Right. Because that's how we all were in college, it was always like a joke too. And I mean, maybe even to a fault now, where it's like, I'm not going to go into a gynecologist and be like, my lady cave is, hurting or whatever.
So there's one scene I never put in because I was thinking, if there's ever a sequel, I have to have some iconic scene. There's a few in Fresh. I can't decide if it's when Nico's going down on her and she's, counting the ceiling tiles. She's just so bored. Or when she gets, athlete's foot on her ass. But I was trying to think. And so a lot of those funnier scenes were pulled, I drew from my own experience. This might be TMI, but I fucking love this story. And so I could totally see this being in a sequel with Elliot. After I graduated college and I moved to New York, and I was had that cocky thing of me being like, I'm an adult now. I know how to take care of myself. I know what's best for me. I left a tampon in for 3 weeks that just went missing. And I forgot about it until I was having sex with somebody. And they were like, do you know that there's a tampon in here? And I was like, no. It was so embarrassing. I was like, where the hell has that thing been hiding? Oh my God. And I was like, that's an Elliot thing. Elliot would, I could totally see that happening with Elliot.
That is, but that's such a true thing, especially with because I was I got this past year got 1 million UTIs in a row. Yes. And I was on my text chain with my friends and I was like, how come they didn't tell us to pee after sex in high school? I know what the term vas deferens is, but I didn't know until I was 33 to pee after sex. You know what I mean? And it's just so fucked up.
Well, so that's something that I don't explore in this one because, freshman year, most people are still quite unexperienced. And so there aren't a lot of VDs going around, sure. But that's definitely, if there's a sequel, 100% Elliot. I mean, she's definitely getting something. Let's be honest. She's getting around there. So there's no way she doesn't have a little herp or something. Yeah. So I think that's an honest conversation that needs to be happening about sex. How do you have that talk with somebody to be so can I see your medical records before we do it? I just need to know what I'm getting.
Yeah. It's so interesting you say that because I feel right now, I've been noticing on Instagram based on some of the sex positive, kind of sexual health people that I follow, that there's this thing to like kind of unstigmatize, whatever the word is, herpes, because a lot of people have it. And, it's such a sign, like people, there's still that sign of like, oh my God, you're a slut, you're dirty, you're not responsible.
You're dirty. Like literally, oh my God, I swear to God, like I would, and it always seems to happen to like women too, of course, if they have an STD, they are promiscuous. Like, oh my God, did you hear? She has HPV. Well, guess what? Like
everyone does.
Everyone has HPV. All right. Like literally everyone I know has HPV, especially our age, because we missed the cutoff for the vaccine. So none of us got that vaccine. So
I got it but it was too late. I still got HPV.
I was too old. I missed the window, and
it was a waste of time. I spent like $1,000 on that fucking vaccine and still got it. So
exactly, because it only covers like 17 different strains, but there's like thousands of them out there. You know what I mean? So like, even if you still have the vaccine, like it still doesn't even matter. I don't think people talk about that a lot. I mean, there's so many sexual things that I think people talk about it in communities where people are used to talking about sex, but I wanted to talk about sex in fresh, maybe have people read it who haven't had those conversations. Maybe they aren't part of those communities that are just open and honest about sex. Like, I wanted to be able to like make people feel comfortable talking about these things, and that's where humor, I think, really comes in. Like comedy really helps with that, because it puts people at ease, because it's funny and it's also not happening to them, it's happening to somebody else. So it's easier to laugh at. But I have heard from some readers, especially some readers who are maybe grew up in a more like religious household and have only had one partner. And a lot of them are like, they went through their college years and they never had that wild period. And so for them, they have enjoyed reading it because they're like, I get to live vicariously through somebody else's wild period because I never got to have one. And that's been really interesting. That's not feedback I was expecting to hear. I was not, and I've heard it multiple times at this point where I was like, wow, I actually didn't think that, people from a more conservative background would enjoy this story. I actually thought it would be quite the opposite, but it's really nice to hear that they are vicariously living through Elliot's trials and tribulations.
Sure. Like, I actually, that applies to me as well, because I feel like I didn't necessarily have a religious household, but just like where I was and like, who I was and my sexuality at that point and just like some of the things I was dealing with, I did live, because like one example is, and I'm so sorry if this is going to gross everyone out, but
I just talked about my tampon that was in there for 3 weeks, so we're good. We're past this.
Fair point. So Elliot, her first week at orientation, gets laid. My first week at orientation, I've never told anyone this before, I shit my pants. And like, that was like my first thought of like, she had the best orientation and I literally shit myself.
Oh my God, please tell me what happened.
So we were going on like we were like walking around, it was just like a group of, I guess like my orientation group or people on the floor. We were walking around Boston and we went to the Cheesecake Factory. I was like so stressed. Like when I get stressed, I eat. Like I'm a stress eater. And I was like, I'll be honest, like it was very, very hard for me being on my own for the first time. I was very, very nervous, very anxious. So I was like stress eating. And we went to Cheesecake Factory and I downed a whole piece of cheesecake. I wasn't even hungry, but I just downed it because it was like whatever. And then I just, we were walking around. We went to this. Do you remember there was like this like video rental place? It was like the last video rental place where you can rent VHSs. It was on Newbury Street. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was like, oh fuck, this is a bad stomach. And I was like, we get back on the T. It is so crowded. And I just remember we get off at our stop and I left the train I left those people with the worst, smelliest fart. Like I just had to do it because it was like, I had to do it. This haunts me. This fucking haunts me because I'm sure all of those people remember just how awful that smell was.
The fart smelled around the world. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So the doors closed and I knew I did it. I just had to do it. Like I could not hold it in. Like it was like I was sick. Running up the stairs to go back to the LB. And like as I was like running up, took the stairs up, I just made it to the restroom and then just like lost it.
Oh my God. I'm like literally crying right now. Oh my God. Oh, but that's so believable just because like, oh, Boston was not New York. Boston did not have public restrooms in the way that New York does.
No. Yeah.
If you had to go, like you had to find an alley.
Yeah. And that's what I should have done. Or like just should have like been like, hey, sorry, Fairy Store, wherever that one Newbury Street, Newbury Comics. I'm sorry, like this is bad.
Yeah.
I didn't think to do that.
God. It's so true though. Like it's not as shit friendly as other cities.
No.
Oh my God. Oh, I wish I had known this before I wrote Fresh. I would have written that in. Oh,
Oh my God, if you did, that would be like just this like cathartic thing because it like legit still haunts me to this day.
Oh my God. Especially just knowing like the tea, like, oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is the best orientation week story I've ever heard. Everybody's orientation week stories, because I've been asking a lot of friends, were so boring. And that is the best. That's hands down the best one I've ever heard.
Oh my God. Like you have no idea how much this like validates my existence because it's literally the most embarrassing thing in like it's like I've never told
such
anyone.
a good story
so
though.
Embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing, but it's such a good story. That's oh my God. I love that. I love that so much. Oh, I wish it had happened to me.
No, you don't. Oh my God. And then just like, walking out of the bathroom, just like, hey guys, like, and just like, being my friendly self. Holy shit. And I was like so sick the rest of the day. Like it was just like.
That Cheesecake Factory, man, that place that burned a lot of people.
Oh God, that makes me feel so much better. And it's just like, I just remember like everyone finished their cheesecake, or everyone didn't finish their cheesecake. They all had things. I fucking scarfed this thing, finished it.
Oh, God, that is so funny. Oh, and going to an urban school is so fun. Like it's so fun because the stories like that. Like I just don't know if anybody at Harvard was ever like, oh, I had to shit and then I ran across the quad to get to my fancy library.
I know. Because like Emerson really is like Boston, the city is your quad. And that was like the most special thing in the world,
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Living at the corner of Boylston and Tremont was very, very cool.
It was. Yeah. It was magical. And it's like, it did separate our college experience, I think, from other people's college experience. But it was just so special at the same time. And yeah.
Yeah. Elliot doesn't really, in the story, she doesn't really venture out of, or at least I don't talk about it too much, her venturing out of the dorms, even though that is a quintessential part of the Emerson experience, is literally wandering up and down Newbury Street, pretending like you could afford anything on that street until you get to the like cheaper end with like Newbury Comics and Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
But like I didn't really go into that aspect of the Emerson experience only because like then it really would have separated non-Emerson readers from Emerson
100%.
readers.
Yeah.
So I mostly there's only a handful of outside Emerson places that are specifically described. Like there's a party in Alston, there's a party in Kenmore Square.
But that's like a big Emerson thing though. Like Austin was where all the parties were,
There were no parties at Emerson. Like people drank in their dorm rooms, but there wasn't like parties or no raves. There's no Greek houses. Like if you wanted to party, you had to find some upperclassman's apartment, usually in Alston, or somebody would have that. I don't know if you ever went to one of those parties at the Newbury Street, the secret apartment that like. No. So there was some. It's talked a little bit about in Fresh, although I said it in Beacon Hill. But when I was there was, I guess, some older Emerson alum from like the 90s had bought an apartment on Newbury Street and would only rent it out to Emerson students like at cost. And so every year it would somebody new would inherit this apartment, and it became like the party apartment on Newberry Street. And I only went to one of those parties because it was a shitty party, but but for the most part, if you wanted a party at Emerson, you went to Alston.
Yeah. Wait, okay. I think I might have been to a party at that place. Because
It was like a shotgun style apartment.
Yeah.
And it was always so hot and like sticky and sweaty, but like in a different way that the Alston hot, sticky and sweaty parties were.
Yeah. I remember, because I remember having there were other people there too, because I remember the party. It was a friend of a friend who was able to use this party, or use the house for the party. And I remember like smoking a blunt with like this very pleasant guy from what was the music school? Berkeley, who was like a cello major. And we just like had a chill time. It was great. And yeah, that's experiences you have.
That was actually, because there were a handful of other like really small colleges right around near Emerson, and Berkeley was one of them. So almost always like Berkeley students and Emerson students would like cross over, and there was like a handful of other schools. Like for a while I started partying at BU school parties, but they were like too much. They were like intimidating for me. I was like, I'm from Emerson. This is too much.
Yeah. I felt that way about Boston College parties, and not that I've ever been to a lot of Harvard parties, but Harvard parties were like, you guys are ridiculous.
I never went to one. I never went to a Harvard party.
I feel so like sad. Harvard parties were like frat parties. Like they were like, okay, sorry to any Harvard people listening. You're probably not. So this podcast is called Too Stupid to Live. But they were sloppy, dumb drunks. I mean, not dumb, but like it was just like you're like what you picture like Animal House to be, or whatever. Like you think
like
of,
an Ohio State party that I imagined.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the fact that like Emersonians were more mature, drunk, and stoned than these Harvard kids, like
that's because when Emerson kids get drunk and stoned, they're like, let's talk about David Lynch.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new Quentin Tarantino? Let's please discuss it. It's like,
and Harvard kids are literally throwing up in an alley. You know, like that's.
I mean, I threw up in alleys, but I was having existential conversations about like the merits of, Avatar. So
right, totally. And like, granted, I was too. I definitely had my fair share of throwing up, but these were like screaming, wild, breaking things, sloppy.
See, that kind of party, that's like not Emerson style. That that always intimidated me. Like that one BU party I went to, I was like, nope, this is too mature for me. Meanwhile, let me go throw up in my purse in the cab on the way back to Emerson.
Right. Oh man, I can remember everywhere everywhere. Yeah. Do you remember the Sweetwater Cafe? Like,
yeah. Oh, you are bringing back memories.
Yeah, I remember I tried SoCo for the first time. I was really into Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
And I was throwing up in the bathroom, and I was like just lying down to take a break. And I sit up, and I had like the indentation of the tiles like in my face, and like the tiles were kind of cool. Like I had like flowery things, and so it's just like, oh fuck.
The drunkest I ever got at Emerson was freshman year, and it was the night before parents' weekend. And so my parents were flying in from Ohio for the whole weekend, and the night before they got there, I got so hammered on White Russians, and if you've got problems with cheesecake, like I have IBS too, so White Russians have milk in them.
Right.
I had never had White Russians before or since, so I had several, too close to like a dozen White Russians. Like I should have maybe been hospitalized. And my parents showed up the next day, and I was just catatonic. I was vomiting still. I couldn't get up. I couldn't go anywhere. They were all like, we got tickets to a Red Sox game. I couldn't go. I didn't do anything. That was my dad rarely got mad. He was a very happy-go-lucky guy. Yeah. And he was so mad. He was like scary mad. And I was like, oh shit, I fucked up. Oh my God. And so after that, I was like, all right, maybe I need to like dial it back just like a little bit.
Sure. Because you always have that one moment of like, oh, hangovers are like sickness. It's sickness, and I don't want to do that.
That was the first, like, I'd thrown up before, but I always usually bounce back within 24 hours. Yeah. But that was the first time. It was like 3 days. I just skipped classes on that Monday. Like, it was really bad. So I had to really, really, that was like the first time where I was like, oh shit, I like need to take care of myself.
Yeah. You just like, all of this is like learning experiences. And this is all to say that for me, like sometimes I'm the type of person who will look back at my Emerson experience and I'm always focused on the negative of like, oh, I can't believe I did that, or I did that. I was so stupid. Why did I do that? But then like reading this book, I was just like, oh, wait, I really did have a lot of fun there. Like I made mistakes for sure. Like there were a lot of embarrassing things that I did. But I also like was just not focusing on the fun. And this book made me remember that.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, for the most part, in general, when I think about my freshman year experience, I was actually pretty like lonely most of it, I had some friends and it took me a while to find other friends, but you kind of spend a lot of your time alone, because your roommates in classes and people got their own shit going on, especially at Emerson. And, there wasn't like a quad to go hang out in. And I don't know. So I remember being very, very lonely for a lot of it. But when I went back to write this book, it was like, there was a lot of mistakes and a lot of like really stupid shit that I did that, maybe before I wrote this book, I probably regretted, but now looking back on it, I'm like, oh man, but that made for such a good story and fresh.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So now I do view like all of those, even those bad moments, even the loneliness and all that stuff, I now kind of view, because I guess I am a writer or whatever. I now sort of view it as just being like, that's all part of that process, that experience, like, being lonely and being kind of scared and feeling like you're just so completely lost. Like that is the experience. That is the point. And also now talking to people like you and other people that I was there with, everybody felt that way, even though at the time I felt like I was the only one, I was like, everybody's having so much fun and everybody's doing it right and all this stuff. And then I was like, why won't anybody just like love me? And I'm like, oh my God, literally everybody felt this way. Like everybody was like kind of terrified and miserable, but also having a blast at the same night. That's what makes your freshman year so wild, because it's just so many different emotions all at once for a whole year.
It's an intense year. And like, I feel like the book really captures that of like, especially like, when it came around to the sexual assault. And that was something that also was eye-opening to me of like, I feel like with what happened to Elliot, if that happened when we were in college, it wouldn't have been maybe considered assault. Do you know what I mean?
There's a couple of things that Emerson is great for. Its like queer utopia society. It's wonderful. It's wonderful for the arts, the classes, the education. They're honestly like legit, super great. Emerson's track record with reporting assaults is not great. So when I was a sophomore, this guy on the 4th floor, he just straight up like shoved me against a wall and got in my face, and screamed at me. And this other guy had to come in and like pull him off. And it was a very terrifying moment. And I remember, that kid who pushed me against the wall, he then later on, applied to be an RA. And the dean, the resident director of the LB, had heard about this incident with me. And he like called me up, and I went all the way up to the very top floor to the resident director's suite that I didn't know existed until like the end of sophomore year.
Right.
And he asked me about the incident, and he was like, do you think this person would be a good RA? And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, he straight up assaulted me. Like he hurt me. Like he physically shoved me. And if that other guy hadn't intervened, like, I don't know what would have happened. And so I was like, I don't think so. And they later on gave him the position of RA. So for the following year, this scene with Elliot is based on a entirely different unfortunate experience that I had. But that one in particular sticks out in my mind because it happened at Emerson on their campus. It was reported, it was documented, and they still didn't do anything. And unfortunately, I think that is more often the case, not just at Emerson, but at like most colleges.
Because it is a thing. I mean, I could be wrong, but it is a thing of like, we don't want to deal with this. Like, maybe it did happen. Maybe, you know, like, this is what they're thinking. You know, obviously it did happen, but I feel like they're thinking of like, even if it did, we don't want to deal with it. And I think that's still a thing that most schools still do. I mean, I could be wrong, you know.
There's like the Title IX protections for schools for like reporting and handling sexual like or just like assault cases and things like that. I did do a little bit of research into that, and basically what it is that it's set up to not prevent the like help the victim at all. Those cases, like in the way that the law is structured, is really like if you want to report anything that happened to you, you have to go on record. And like, sure, maybe the person you're bringing this up against won't know your name, but they also will know exactly who it is. And it also means that it opens up your life to be scrutinized, you know, oh, were you drunk? Was it in any way your fault that maybe you were asking for it? That kind of a thing. And so that's why in the story, I knew making that choice. So Elliot, you know, there's like an attempted assault, and thankfully Elliot handles the situation well. But she ultimately decides not to file an official Title IX complaint because it would mean that her entire life would then be about this one complaint, and it would ruin the rest of her entire college existence. It would literally define her because it would take years to resolve. And she would have to think about it and examine it and all those things. Like, I think for some people, if that's what they want to do and they want to bring those cases up, I think they absolutely should. But for Elliot, and honestly, for the sake of the story, I was like, this is not what this story is about. This story isn't about this. The story is about Elliot's ability to bounce back from all of these screw ups. And this is just one of those. So I think there's a lot of things that Elliot does that she regrets, that she openly regrets. But I don't think she would ever regret not, you know, filing that official complaint, because for her, that's how she protected herself.
Which I really liked, because I do think that, you know, there's this double standard when it comes to, like, you know, reporting your complaints and coming forward of, if you're stigmatized if you do, you're stigmatized if you don't, you know, and you are. And so I really liked the decision Elliot made, because it was what she needed to do, you know. I do know with the thing about telling her roommate, because spoiler alert, it's, you know, a friend's boyfriend who does it, and she was like keeping it from her. And I can understand that.
It's a retelling of Emma. It's the same. If you know Emma, you know
okay, never mind.
We're talking about. Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not well informed on Emma.
No, it's just like, you know, if you've seen Clueless, like the scene where the guy that she's trying to tie up with, he tries to kiss Cher. And I was like, that's a very 90s rom-com moment. And that's how it is in Jane Austen's Emma. But I was like, what would it actually look like today? And this is exactly what it looks like today, unfortunately. And when I actually wrote that scene, it was during the Kavanaugh hearings. So I was just so like riled up by the fact that that woman brought these allegations, and then she got scrutinized. She was the one who, like, everybody was calling her credentials, her ability, like everything about her came into focus. And it really kind of like made me, you know, that's why I was like, I just can't have this happen to Elliot. And I also don't think that people should be stigmatized if they don't want to bring their complaints forward, because it's their choice, you know? And so it is neatly wrapped up in Fresh, in that Kenton, you know, he drops out of Emerson, because I did look it up, and I was like, if the person then ends up leaving school, like the official complaint can exist on record, but like there's no hearing, there's no like investigation or anything, so that she still has come forward and made the complaint, but nothing about her life is being brought, you know, she's not being put under the spotlight. And I felt like that was a much more like honest resolution to what had happened.
Yeah, I thought it was a very powerful, plot, moment in the book, and I think a lot of readers like would really appreciate that because it did feel more realistic, I suppose. Like the experience felt relatable, I suppose, and I'm sure it does for like a lot of readers, and I know a lot of readers would appreciate that, young and old.
Yeah, it was hard to include that because I didn't want it to derail the comedy because like
Right.
Fresh is supposed to be a comedy first and foremost. And so I was really worried that like having this sort of darker, like kind of really somber moment happening, would it be hard for readers to come back from that moment and still be able to laugh. So I thought that part, like I really just sat with that for a long time, deciding whether or not I wanted to go there, or do I just do it like Clueless and in Emma, where it's just a kiss,
Right.
He just tries to kiss her. And it's a slightly more innocent and less like nefarious.
Right.
But that didn't feel really real to me.
Sure.
That didn't feel very honest to what happens. And like, especially around the conversation of that's happening now with the Me Too thing of like, are women asking for it? Like, oh, she's drunk. She was asking for it. She was dancing with him, like blah, blah, blah. She was totally inviting him. It's like, no, she definitely wasn't. And so having it so close to Elliot's point of view, you can really see that it really wasn't. She really was not asking for it at all in any way, shape, or form. I wanted it to be super clear from the beginning that like how it could be seen from Kenton's perspective, but like in Elliot's perspective, at no point did it seem like she wanted Kenton in any way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm glad that I included that scene. It was one that I was like really questioning of whether or not I should take it out. But my editor was the one who was like, no, we have to keep this in and we'll find a way to slowly build up, bring her out of that and back up again for the third act.
Because she never loses her character after that. She like, even during the moment, she never loses her character, like she's very much herself. It just reminded me, like, I remember when I was at Emerson and I got some pamphlet and it was like, if you go to parties, wear comfortable shoes so you can run away, wear loose clothing. God. And I thought it was the most ridiculous fucking thing, isn't
that the thing though? It's always like, ladies, you have to change your behavior because you don't want to invite any kind of negativity from men. It's like, where's that pamphlet for dudes being like, hey dudes, don't be a fucking dick?
Yeah. And I just remember, maybe this was even in high school, I saw this list of like excuses you can say to get out of having sex. And one of them being like, I have a sunburn or something.
I have a sunburn.
Yeah. And it's just like, where's the poster with the one phrase, guys, don't pressure women to have sex if they don't want to? You know what I mean? Like, that's all you need. You don't need this whole list.
Exactly. So how Elliot handles that scene was how my father had taught me to handle that moment. If it had ever happened to me, he told me when I was in like a freshman in high school, I think, he was like, look, if this ever happens, first you need to be nice and polite and say no.
Right.
He's like, give them the chance to do the right thing. So
sure.
Nice and polite. And then you need to be clearer if maybe they didn't hear you the first time. So a little bit more aggressive. And then he's like, and then after those 2 times, if nothing happens, then you grab him by the dick and you twist. And he was like, do not pull, specifically twist. He was a surgeon. It was like, it will maximize the pain.
Yeah.
The pain. And you will incapacitate him. And so it was kind of fun being able to write that scene, just because in that particular moment, I don't know, all the things that have happened to me personally, thinking about all my friends and all those things that have happened to them. And it was just like the height of the Me Too thing. And I was just like, oh, grab it and twist that shit out of it. Like,
yeah, it was great. Because I think like all of us during that time, like I belonged to a kickboxing club, and during the, trials, it was all women, it's all women in the class just punching shit. And I think it was like, and I think we still feel it too. Like this isn't something that's like, oh, our anger just lasted that 1 week. It still exists.
No,
and
it's
I think
still there. And so writing that scene was so it was honestly very cathartic for me to write that scene, because it was just, yeah, it was exactly what I wish I'd done in my own moments that I didn't do. And so I kind of got to like live vicariously through Elliot, and it was really cathartic. So, and a lot of rage, a lot of rage.
It was great. And I think, like, you know, maybe to conclude with is that, like, this is a book. There are a lot of YA books and new adult books that I've read recently, you know, for guests on the show and things. This was particularly a book I wish I had read when I was Elliot's age. Just so I, you know, could have, again, I don't have any regrets about Emerson, but just so I could have gone in with a sense of like autonomy over myself and being myself, and also not, you know, slut shaming myself in a way, you know, not slut shaming other people. And I think just seeing that, just reading that book, I think for kids either going into Emerson or just college in general, you know, I think is just going to be so helpful for them, you know, and when you're in college and when you're after college, like, I feel like this is such a universal story for a lot of people.
Yeah. I hope that when people, what they take away from this story is that, like, give yourself a break.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something that we all need to learn for any stage in our life, you know? And it was just like exactly what I needed to read at the exact
I'm
time.
glad.
Yeah.
That's so nice to hear. Thank you.
Of course. Well, oh my God, this was so delightful to reconnect, because I'm sure we have connected before. It freshes out right now, correct?
August 3rd, so 2 weeks. I don't know when this will be airing, so if it's after August 3rd, then it is out now.
Okay, great. Well, guys, you got to pick up fresh. It's rough. Or people are like, this is so refreshing.
Every trade review has been like, it's a fresh take on. I'm like, you use the word, everybody drink.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you're gonna have to have a few shots after.
The fresh drinking game is every time somebody uses the word fresh or refreshing in the review, you have to take a shot or smoke a blunt.
Okay, well, listen, I'm so sorry. I'll say like fresh, and you're gonna get fucked up by the end of the day. Just reliving your Emerson, you know, things.
Oh God,
Emerson.
I'm too old now. I can't even handle one White Russian now.
Oh my God, yeah. There's like always that alcohol where it's like, I got so sick from this. I can't do it.
I cannot go near rum ever again.
I'm like tequila. Can't do tequila. And that's sad, because tequila, I know, is good. People love it.
It is good. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh my God. Thank you for being here. This was so much fun.
Everybody smash that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Follow or whatever it is for podcasts.
Yeah, no, I don't even know either. Listen, this is
do whatever. Patreon? Can I plug your Patreon?
I don't have a Patreon, but guys, send me money anyway, you know? Too Stupid to Live is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. For more podcasts you'll love, visit frolic.media/podcasts. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.